Okay. Actually. So here's the game plan, gang. This is your first time here, Rodney. I got 2 electricians, a coordinator, right? Myself and my team. This is going to be fun, okay? Here's the goal. And whoever is watching live, when you leave here, you drive home and you're scratching your head going, huh, what just happened? That's the goal. Because if you leave here with that thought, then we know we stimulated something important in your life. Cool? Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to start with a story. So this morning, I'm getting some work done on my house. Okay, we moved into a house. Oh, hey. Perfect timing. I'll fill you in real quick. The goal is for you to leave here and scratch your head and go, what?
I do that all the time anyway, so it's a very short trip.
What? I'm going to start with the story. I woke up this morning and got a bunch of work done, and we had this guy come to the house to lay some new floor for us. And I'm thinking to myself, he's probably going to show up late. It's just been my experience with anyone doing work for me in Bend. But I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I was like, he's probably going to show up late, but I should probably get ready for this dude because he's going to show up and he's going to want to work and get this thing done. So I'm outside moving some stuff, pulling boards. Help me out here.
I have no idea.
Baseboards off the wall. And it's about 8:45. He said he'd be there at 9, and he shows up. And I'm like,
wow.
I said, I like you more and more the more I get to know you. And he said, why is that? I said, because you're early. He's like, I'm ready to work. And I'm like, this guy's my man. So he will be my flooring guy for the rest of my life. I guarantee it, as long as he didn't destroy the house. So he gets over, and there was a problem with this house that we moved into around the fireplace, and we knew it was the problem, but we didn't think it was a big problem. We thought that the people who lived there just were really bad at like home improvements, and that's what we just kind of decided. Well, the flooring guy gets there, and he starts pulling up flooring, and he goes, I found out why they did that silly thing around the fireplace. And I'm thinking to myself, what could it be? And he said, the house got flooded here, and he's telling me this. I'm like, this guy's, I think he's brilliant, but maybe he's not. He's like, there was some water that came down through the chimney. It wasn't sealed up properly. It came down here, and it flooded around this area, and they drilled some holes in the ground here so that the water would drain out. And all of this, it wasn't a lot, but I don't know, around the fireplace, and he's peeling back, and he goes, well, right there, you can tell. That's water damage. This isn't. And he goes, what do you want to do? And I'm like looking at him. I'm like supposed to be on a conference call. I'm supposed to be doing a bunch of stuff. And I was like, well, what do you think we should do? And he goes, we really should cut this out and replace the particle board or the subfloor. Thank you. See, I don't know these words. And I'm thinking, well, what should we do? And he goes, that's what we should do. And he goes, but that's going to be a problem because if I cut that open and I find rot under there, I'm walking out the door because I can't deal with that. And you got to call a contractor. And then you guys are going to have subfloor. And he's going, how long are you guys going to live here? Blah, blah, blah. He's asking me these questions. You know where this story is going. And he goes, I got another option. We can paint this with some Seals All, and it'll absorb down in there, and it'll lock everything in. Blah, blah, blah. And he's telling me, and he goes, what do you want to do? And this guy's on the clock, right? And I'm trying to help him out. And he goes, and I looked at him, I said, well, normally in my life, I want to fix things because I don't like to patch things up. So what do you guys think that I did?
Patched it up.
I patched it up. Totally against everything that I would ever do. But I have to start with that story because I get it. Right? I was like thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, how long am I probably going to live here? Probably going to live here for more than like 3, maybe 5 years. Going through my head, I'm like, if this guy cuts this thing up, now I'm really, I got some other stuff going on in my life right now. You guys know that. I'm like, let's paint that thing up. And he goes, cool, it'll be fine. Right? And I thought you guys would get a laugh out of that because I'm not a patcher, I'm a fixer.
Sometimes you can only do what you can do. That's just
And it kind of goes along with my little class here tonight. I was debating on showing this to you guys because it's 7 minutes long. But I think it's going to be a really valuable 7 minutes. Pay attention. It goes quick. A lot of big words. A lot of life-changing lessons in here.
Peter,
I'll give you the backstory once we get through
pretty
it.
much all day, every day.
Has anyone heard of Edward Barney? Okay, cool. I'll teach you about someone really fascinating who changed your life.
Edward Bernays persuaded women to smoke. He convinced the public that bacon and eggs were the true all-American breakfast.
This is great.
He also facilitated the successful overthrow of a democratically elected Guatemalan president. How did one man achieve these remarkable accomplishments? The methods he used to achieve these astonishing events are explained in his book, Propaganda. What is propaganda? Propaganda nowadays is seen as a synonym for lies. It implies half-truths, selective history, bias, misleading information and other tricks. However, it can be used in a positive manner. For example, a campaign to improve public health through vaccination. When used in such a constructive way, it can be a progressive force, capable of improving and benefiting every life and every home. Specific propaganda should be seen as good or bad depending on the merit of the cause urged and the correctness of the information published. Modern propaganda is a consistent and continuing effort to create or shape events to influence public relations on an enterprise, idea or group. Edward Bernays worked for the Woodrow Wilson administration in the First World War, using a propaganda model promoting America's war efforts as bringing democracy to Europe. After swaying the public across the world with this slogan, he set to work on employing propaganda in peacetime. Due to negative implications surrounding the word propaganda because of its use by the Germans in the war, he promoted the term public relations. Public relations expert is concerned with bringing an idea to the awareness of the public, using modern media communications and group formations of society. They act as an advisor to their clients. Edward Bernays had an impressive list of these clients, ranging from media companies such as Time Inc., CBS and NBC, through to individuals such as the President of the United States. He was not just a propagandist. He was concerned with courses of action, policies, systems and opinions, and the securing of public support for them. His responsibilities even included discovering new markets. The most famous new market Bernays was asked to uncover was that of women smoking cigarettes in the late 1920s. Up until then, women smoking in public was seen as a social taboo. Bernays set about removing this taboo to potentially double tobacco companies' possible clientele. First, he contacted a psychoanalyst to understand the societal perceptions that dissuaded women from smoking. He found that for feminists, cigarettes were like torches of freedom that symbolised their non-conformity and freedom from male oppression. He used this information to formulate a strategy and got a group of stylish women to march in an Easter Day parade. Prior to the parade, he had told the press that a group of women's rights marchers would light torches of freedom. On his cue, the women lit up their cigarettes in front of the eager photographers. The result was press coverage in several major newspapers including the New York Times, which helped to break the taboo against women smoking in public. The study of mass psychology has brought to light the fact that a group can have certain mental characteristics distinct from that of an individual. Learning how the masses are influenced by various factors allows us to effect change in public opinion with a fair amount of accuracy. However, propaganda will never be an exact science, in the same way psychology or sociology isn't, because they deal with humans. If you can influence leaders, you automatically influence the groups they rule or have authority over. The group mind has impulses, emotions and habits, rather than thoughts as such. It makes up its mind by impulsively following the example of a trusted leader or authority figure. If this is not available, the herd thinks by cliches or images that stand for a group of experiences or ideas. An old propagandist would treat the human mind as an individual machine and rely on certain stimulus, often repeated, creating a habit. Similarly, they would reiterate an idea to create conviction with individuals. For example, to advertise bacon and eggs, adverts would contain phrases along the lines of "Eat more eggs," "Bacon is good for you," and "Bacon and eggs are cheap and healthy." A new propagandist such as Bernays, who understands group psychology, would first look at who influences eating habits. The answer is doctors and physicians. They would then suggest to these doctors and physicians to publicly state that eating bacon and eggs is good for you. The propagandist knows that a large number of people will follow the advice of their doctor due to the psychological relationship between a person and their doctor. A doctor signifies health, which in turn signifies long life. Bernays used these exact methods of leader influence to convince the public that bacon and eggs were the true all-American breakfast. Bernays sold more bacon, not by telling Americans that bacon is tasty, but by asking doctors the question, is it more healthy to eat a hearty breakfast or a skimpy breakfast? His advertisements then said, 9 out of 10 doctors recommend a hearty breakfast like this one, with a photo of bacon and eggs. An old advertiser would try to persuade an individual to buy an item immediately. For example, buy this piano, now! Using reiteration and emphasis directed upon the individual, the advertiser tries to break down sales resistance. A new advertiser would, instead of directly penetrating sales resistance, try to remove it by creating circumstances that will swing emotional currents that will build purchaser demand. For example, a new advertiser, when selling a piano, would try to develop acceptance of the idea of a music room in a house, perhaps by arranging an exhibition of music rooms by well-known designers, inviting key people of influence with regards to buying habits, i.e. famous musicians. The music room will be accepted, and people with a music room will naturally think of buying a piano, believing it comes as their own idea. Instead of saying to the purchaser, please buy a piano, they have caused the purchaser to say, please sell me a piano. All these methods and techniques were used for Bernays' most extreme propaganda campaign, the overthrow of the Guatemalan government. The government had introduced labour laws that allowed workers to strike if their demand for higher wages were not met. The United Fruit Company had been the largest landowner and employer in Guatemala for several years, and these laws would affect their profits. Edward Bernays was hired by the United Fruit Company to persuade Americans that the then Guatemala president, Jacobo Arbenz, was a communist, when in reality he was a liberal capitalist. Bernays ran an intensive campaign of misinformation to portray the company as the victim of the government for several years, including taking American journalists to Guatemala and arranging for them to interview only those who opposed Arbenz. Bernays' involvement led to US President Eisenhower to intervene, and ultimately Arbenz was overthrown in a US-sponsored coup designed to make the world safe for large US corporations.
I thought that was really absolutely wild. I watched it. That was probably the 9th time I've watched that today. Ron and Dave, you guys popped in here late. So what we were discussing is how everything in our lives has been manipulated. Everything. The discussion, this guy came up. I went over to my friend's house last night, and we started talking about decisions that we make and why we make them. And he referenced Ed Barney. And he said, well, just like Ed Barney. And I'm like, who's that? And he started telling me. So I went home and started reading about Ed Barney. And I'm like, it's exactly what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I watched this, and I said, this can go so many different directions now. My head spins when I look at this information. So here's what I want you to understand. When you understand what he did and how he changed all of our lives, if you understand how that happened, you can manipulate a lot of people. And propaganda can be good and propaganda can be bad. We just always think of it as being bad. And the way that he got people to understand and buy these things is by telling lies. For the most part. Take a world leader who's a liberal and convince everyone that he's a communist. Could you even have lunch with if you're a communist and the other person's a liberal, could you even sit down and have a hamburger together? That wouldn't end pretty. Okay? So then as we started having this discussion, I started realizing I know Barney. I just didn't know his name. I know all of the work that he's done. He's the father of public relations. Right? And we know, oh yeah, PR. So-and-so works in PR for Coca-Cola or Pepsi or, the bank. It's how can we get more people to choose what we have, whether it's good for them or bad for them. And this whole story can get really sloppy, dark, and messy if you allow it to. Got it? So, Edward Barney, he kind of coined this and came up with this. He said, if you want to manipulate people, he said, tell them a big lie. Don't tell them a little lie. Tell them a huge lie. The bigger the lie that you tell the people, the more the people will be convinced that the lie is the truth. Now, when you're driving home scratching your head, just be thinking about politics and about our world and about our healthcare system. And you got to know that half the stuff that we get from CBS, NBC, and media is a really huge, blatant lie. And how are we going to finagle our way through that forest of lies and manipulation? Because they know this. I mean, these companies have hired this brilliant man. Okay? And Barney says this. He says that humans are very irrational. Number one. And I'm like, yeah? You might be thinking that every day with the people that you spend your time with. Highly irrational. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. How many people do you know who are irrational? Highly irrational and highly manipulative. Highly manipulative. This is humans in general. And he said, we know that. We can get people to do whatever we want them to do. Got it? So the goal for this, for the next 10 minutes that we're going to share together, is for you to think about your health and how to sift through the fog or maybe the murky water that we've been led to believe is the only option for us moving forward. Cool? And when you understand these principles, you can convince people to do some things. That, I always tell people, have fun with your girlfriend or wife or husband, and go through this process and see if it changes the outcome. But don't pick a bad thing. Pick a positive thing. Like, encourage them to go on vacation and see where you end up. Tell a big lie in healthcare. We're going to touch on that. And people are highly irrational and highly manipulative. He also touches on something really kind of powerful. And he says, if you get the leader, you get the whole herd or the whole flock. Because he said something in there. He said, the herd will irrationally follow the leader, basically off a cliff. Okay? So, here's my hope for you tonight. When you leave here, you have power in knowing that there's only one person responsible for your health, and it's you. I mean, I just had a discussion with someone. The last patient, second to last patient of the day, she said, my doctor wanted me to do this. It's the last time she'll see me again. I was like thinking to myself, I wonder if anyone felt that way about me. Probably. Right? Probably. Okay? And the truth is I want you to be able to have power so that when you have a health condition come up for yourself, you are the only one who's going to be able to make the decision. And in the process of doing that, I want to talk to you about something called a thesis and an antithesis and a synthesis. So in the scientific theory, someone has to create a thesis, correct? It's a theory. Now, make this about your health. I have diabetes. Someone's going to sell you something if you're going to get help. It's either going to be, I'm going to sell you something, the medical doctor's going to sell you something, your wife, your sister, your brother, someone's going to sell you something and you're going to make a decision based on what they sell you, correct? And in that process, you have all these theories coming in. This is my theory, this is my theory, this is my theory. But really, you don't know. You're like, what the heck is going on inside my body? Okay? Be strong enough that when that happens, when 10 people give you their theory for what you should be doing, be strong enough to step aside and critically think for yourself. And process and form an antithesis, an antithesis. Think of all of those different options and then formulate one that's so far off, you could be goofy for thinking of it. Okay? Next. Combine your antithesis or antithesis with everyone else's thesis and figure out what's the heck's best for you. Period. You got a good solution right there. We run into a problem with our healthcare system because, remember, the doctor knows everything. And I'm talking to you because I am one. And I don't know everything. That's why this is so fun for me to have these classes. Because I get to step aside and be like, that's not what we want to be. The doctor gets the information who's sold from the pharmaceutical industry, who has one thing in mind: how can we raise more money? Barney sold cigarettes to women for one reason: double tobacco sales. Right? How can we get more doctors on board to give, so that doctors can give more people what we want them to have, so that we can sell them more product? Earlier this morning, patient comes in. I'm sorry, not this morning. Last week. Patient comes in, cancer. Okay, and of course we want to know all about this because I want to just be there to support them. And in cancer, it's scary. Agreed? That's a scary word. Nobody wants to find out they have cancer. Okay? But in the world of selling cancer drugs, these doctors are the best at selling their thesis to you. You ready for this? This will shock you if you're not paying attention. This is how it goes. I've had this happen dozens of times in my life, personally, to my family, and to my other family, my patients. Come in, get the test done, sit down. You should bring your spouse to this appointment. I tell people to bring their spouse to their appointments too, because it's a healthcare decision. I think the spouse should be there. Guys got it? Bring the spouse to the appointment. Andrew, you have cancer. What? I have cancer? Yes, you have cancer. It's bad. Okay? Look at the spouse. Ashley, your husband has cancer. It's bad. Here's what you need to do. Here's your treatment plan. If you don't do this, you're going to die. Then the emotions come. I mean, I love you guys enough to tell you the truth. This is how it goes. And then you go home and you have to leave that conversation thinking that the doctor told me I was going to die. That's going to be an emotional knee-jerk reaction. And there's going to be no antithesis or antithesis that is ever formulated. And I'm not telling you that you shouldn't have the cancer treatment, but I'm saying they shouldn't sell it to you like that. Come on, right? How about, hey, dude, you got cancer, man. We should have a conversation. There's tons of stuff you could do. I mean, gosh, people write books about what to do and what not to do. We just got to start sifting through this foggy situation. It's emotional, yes, but let's try and keep our emotions aside because your body can heal. We'll figure it out, but trust me, you got tons of options. All right, but the first thing we need to know is, yeah, you got cancer, but you know what? So do a lot of people, and they don't even know, and they live to be 100. You see where I'm going with this? So it's an emotional decision, and it's an emotional reaction, this healthcare model. Got it? I tore my meniscus really bad when I was in graduate school. Went in, I knew I tore it. I had a bunch of doctors look at it. They go, you tore your meniscus. Went in, got my MRI. Doctor came in, gets a little note card out like this. He goes, all right, Andrew, you tore your meniscus. It's 2 centimeters. That's pretty bad. Just writing it down, 2 centimeters. Shows me the MRI. He goes, you need surgery. I'm like, okay. I kind of figured I need surgery. He goes, how's tomorrow morning 8:30 sound? I'm like, what? I go, dude, what? He goes, I got an opening at 8:30 tomorrow morning. I'm like, oh, come again? He goes, we should do it sooner than later. I don't think we should wait on this. I was like, I know, I agree. We should do it sooner or later, but don't you think I should go home and like call my mom? I was like still on my mom's insurance plan. You see where I'm going with this? He goes, no, we'll take care of everything. He goes, we got your insurance now. You show up tomorrow at 8:30. I'm like, no, man. No, I'll call you later. All right. And so when you understand this and how they did this whole thing, you know, you have some powerful tools, but use them wisely and use them in the right way. Always form an antithesis of the thesis so that you can combine those and get a synthesis. right? Synthesis, that's a good word. Fair? Let's talk really quickly of a couple things that they've sold us on. Finish my sentence. Milk, it does a body good. I mean, does it really? I mean, do you guys know that it really does? I mean, I don't know, but we all know it. And my family would go through like 2 gallons of milk a day. 4 boys. I mean, we drank a lot of milk. I don't know that it really does the body good. I mean, I have my own opinions based on science that would probably lead y'all to believe otherwise. Okay? Doctors smoke what kind of cigarettes?
Filtered.
Doctors choose Camel. You remember that ad? They'd have a doctor in a white coat, and he'd be standing there with his lighter. Doctors smoke Camels. It's really funny to see an ad with a doctor smoking a cigarette and saying doctors choose Camel. It's kind of funny and kind of strange. You know, who's heard this? Who's heard of this? You're watching TV and it says Sensodyne. 2 out of 3 dentists approve. Oh shit! I'm gonna go to Weimar and buy me some Sensodyne right now. I mean, what 3 dentists or 2 out of 3 dentists approved this? You know, I don't know. I wrote down a couple other ones. I was thinking about them today. Every time I drive by Walgreens, I see a sign that says, you know, get vaccinated. I mean, who decided that we needed herd vaccinations? And who, you know, they're not safe. You can't convince any logical doctor or scientific brain that they're safe. We know they're not safe. So why do we think that everyone has to get these things? Okay? Yet you sit down with a bunch of people. I mean, I had a new patient. I mean, young child. I said, is your kid fully vaccinated? And the mom's like, yeah. I go, okay. All right. Like, that's what you say to a doctor. When your doctor asks if your kid's vaccinated, yeah. My kid's vaccinated. You think I'm an idiot? Yeah, my kid's vaccinated. Why would I not get my kid vaccinated? I mean, it's just become such a part of everything that we do that we forgot how to critically think. Enter the next chapter. We have to be critical thinkers with our health. I want you to challenge me. I want you to challenge your other doctors. I want you to challenge your neighbor who thinks you need neck surgery because your neck hurts. Just ask him, where did you read that? Can I get a copy of it? It'll solve 99.9% of the turmoil that goes along with things. It's my favorite line. I've used it over and over again my whole life as a doctor. Patient comes in, Doc, I'm going to end on chiropractic, of course, because we always do. Doc, I want to get adjusted, but I just don't trust you. I heard chiropractors cause stroke. I'm thinking to myself, how did you even get here? And why are we talking about this instead of how we can get you healthy? I'm like, did you just want to like try and see how I would react? Got it. Where'd you read that? Oh, I didn't read that. I just heard that. Well, where did it come from? Well, so-and-so read it and told me. Cool. Go back and call so-and-so. Ask him if you can get a copy of it. Bring it in. I'd like to see it. Guess how many articles I've ever gotten back? None. Doc, I have to stop getting adjusted because my neurologist told me that what you do is not safe. Great. Go back to your neurologist. Ask him if you can get a copy of the peer-reviewed scientific article that says that what I'm doing is not safe for your condition. I'd gladly stop doing it if we think that it could hurt you. People look at me and they go, well, you want me to do what? Yeah, challenge that doctor. Go back there, ask them for the peer-reviewed double-blind study article where they base their opinion on. Give it to me so that I can educate myself on something that maybe I don't know so we can get you healthy. How's that sound? I can't ask him that. I'm like, well, I don't know what to tell you. How are we going to get you healthy if someone's opinions are leading you to the decision that they want? I love when people bring up concerns about chiropractic because someday we're going to teach a class. I don't know where it's going to be. Maybe at one of the colleges if they would hire me to do this. But I really want it to be called healthcare apologetics. I want people to be able to defend their belief for what they choose for their body so that they can comfortably go out and have conversations. Because I can't tell you how many people over the years, there's boxes of patient files in there of people who don't get adjusted anymore. They stopped because someone told them something that wasn't true and they believed it. It happens all the time. And they didn't want to believe it, but they just felt like they had to. Okay? So, apologetics. It's being able to defend what you believe in and doing it in a way that gives you power. So, the healthcare model has sold you on emotions. They've sold you that if you want something, and if you want to feel the way that these other people feel, and if you want to get rid of what you have and cover it up so that you can be frolicking through the field of butterflies and taking your lunesta, that's going to solve every problem that you have in your life. They're selling it to you because of what you think that you can have by doing and listening to them blindly and irrationally for what they want to sell you. Not all doctors are bad, but doctors that don't do their homework for health and what they can and can't do to serve someone the way they're designed to are bad. Right? Not all chiropractors are good. Not all electricians are good. Not all teachers are good. Not all mechanics are good. Except you two. You guys are good. These guys are good. Yeah. Challenge everyone who makes a claim that does not resonate with you. If it irritates and upsets them, it's their problem, not yours. Agreed? If I'm concerned about what you told me for my safety and my health, and you got pissed off, that's your problem. Agreed? And that's the most beneficial aspect of how we can come together and we can feel more powerful as individuals to get healthier. Because most people think that good health is just luck. And good health is not luck. Good health is hard work. And education, especially maneuvering through these muddy waters that we're being presented with today. People don't need health insurance. They need health assurance. You see? The health insurance days are winding down to an end because good health doesn't come from a card. The health insurance company realized a long time ago that the more money they give you to spend however you want, the less money they get from you. The less money they give you to spend how you want, the more money they're going to get. People don't need health insurance, they need health assurance. And the only way to get that is to become a critical thinker. The schools aren't going to teach our kids to be critical thinkers. The system is not going to do it. It's designed to not make them critical thinkers. It's designed to make them follow the leader. It's designed not to allow them to think, to be creative. It's designed to allow people to fill in the bubble that we taught you is the right bubble to fill in. And it sure isn't taught people, kids or families, how to be proactively healthy in a time in our country where we're the sickest. Got it? We're one of the sickest nations in the world right now. So when we come together and have these conversations, we get to leave here feeling like, okay, I can do this. I can sift through. I can challenge that guy. I can challenge that woman who's been putting me on these medications forever. Maybe there's another way. Agreed? The system has taught us that, here, 30 years ago, Dan, you have an infection in your toe. I've seen these things get out of control. If we don't get you on some antibiotics, you could lose your toe. Heck, you could lose your foot, your leg. You could die. Take this penicillin. It's kind of cool. It'll help your body heal. It's gone from that to Dan comes into my office and he goes, here's the deal, Doc. I was watching Jeopardy last night and I'm really sick and tired of feeling like crap because I have arthritic pain in every joint in my body. And the commercial came on and it said, ask your doctor about whatever. So listen, Doc, are you going to give it to me or not? Yeah. And if you're not, I'm going to find someone who is. Got it? Edie Barney said that the consumer now asks to be sold something. Yep. Where before, the seller had to ask the consumer to buy something. And the healthcare industry, man, do they know it. They got you unless we've had this conversation. Okay? In the world of chiropractic, you have the opportunity to work with your body in a way that no other healthcare system can and stimulate your cells in your body to heal and function the way they're designed to. A chiropractic adjustment will change your chemical physiology better, faster, and more innately with your body than any drug, pill, or surgery on the market. It's designed to help your body heal the way that it was designed to, and most people don't know anything about it. And the problem is because that monster, that market that's convincing you using those tactics to listen to them doesn't want you to know about it.
Most doctors don't know anything about it.
Most doctors don't know anything about it. So you have a decision to make. As we're here, you guys know this, or we're learning this together because we're evolving our relationship. You're in a safe place. I'm going to teach you things that you probably didn't know that you signed up to come to a class like this tonight, and that's okay. You're probably going to leave here scratching your head and think, man, how many aspects of my life have I been missing out on because I've been taught one way and not even had the ability to even rationally think myself through this. And now, if nothing else, when you leave here, the next time you feel like you're in a predicament like this, you can think back to this class and you can go, I need to do what's right for me. And if it's not right for me, and if you're trying to push something on someone else's or some different agenda, then I need to form an antithesis to whatever you're telling me so that I can get synthesis in my body. Cool? It's power. I mean, that in itself, and that's the way that I want to raise my child. She'll probably get sent home from school every single day, and I'll probably be smiling. And I'll say, honey, I think we need to find our new school. We need to homeschool. We're doing a good job. Let's homeschool. And then I'll put her in a half Nelson and wrestle him to the ground. Cool?